All right, let's get ready to explore something pretty cool today. We're going to dive deep into the world of elite cross-country skiing, but with like a twist you might not expect.
Yeah, it's not your typical ski team story. We're looking at Lager157 Skiteam, a Swedish team, and they're really like changing the game. They've got this blend of athletic ambition and like real business smarts.
Exactly. We've got Anton Jarnberg's talk to guide us through this. He's the team manager, and he really lays out their whole philosophy. It's fascinating how they've built this whole ecosystem, where their team, their sponsors, their training programs, and even the retail store all connect.
Yeah, it's like this integrated platform approach that really sets them apart. They're not just relying on those old school sponsorship models. They're creating value at every level, almost like a well-oiled business machine.
Okay, so let's rewind back to the beginning for a sec. Anton founded the team back in 2014, and their big goal was winning the Vasaloppet.
Ugh, the Vasaloppet. I mean, 90 kilometers of pure cross-country grit. Think of it like the Super Bowl of skiing, but with history going all the way back to the 16th century.
Wow, that's incredible. So back to the team. Those early years weren't easy. They had some struggles, and things really didn't click until Britta Johansson Norgren came on board.
Oh yeah, she's a legend in women's skiing. Her arrival definitely marked a turning point for them.
For sure, it's like her being there not only boosted their performance, but also attracted more talent and resources.
Yeah, it put them on the map for sure. It's amazing how one person can have such a huge ripple effect.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads us perfectly into their unique structure, what Anton calls the four pillars. The team and sponsors, the training concept, youth and B teams, and get this, a sports shop.
Wait a minute, a sports shop? That's not something you hear every day. Most teams I know are struggling to just stay afloat.
Right. That's what makes them so different. Each of these pillars actually supports the others. They create this self-sustaining system.
So they're not just focused on winning races, they're thinking long-term, building a sustainable strategy, almost like a pro cycling team.
That's a great comparison. And their approach to sponsorships really highlights this. They're not just about slapping logos on jerseys.
No, they're going way beyond that. They're weaving their partners into the very essence of the team.
Exactly. It's about adding value, not just visibility. Like take Molven, for example. They're a wood products company. Lager157 Skiteam actually participates in their customer events.
That's smart. It's about building those real relationships and going above and beyond.
And then there's Nivica, a property company. They're using the team for their internal engagement initiatives.
So it's like they're saying, we're not just taking your money, we're in this together. And it's clearly working.
It is. And get this whole approach helped Lager157 itself, the clothing brand that sponsors the team, become a major player in the outdoor market.
Seriously, they
Yeah.
used their partnership with the team to like rebrand themselves.
Totally. They started as just a jean store, but by working so closely with the ski team, they've transformed into a full-blown outdoor clothing brand.
That's a wild story. It's like a textbook example of brand evolution. And it just shows how sharp the team is on the business side. They're not just athletes, they're savvy marketers too.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and talk about their training concept. It's been central to their model since 2009, even before the team was officially formed. We're talking 300 to 500 participants who pay to train alongside the team.
Wow, that's a huge operation. They've turned their expertise into a real revenue stream. So what kind of training do they actually offer?
They've got it all, from inspiration days and roller ski sessions to specialized Vasaloppet training programs. And the cool part is that the team skiers are actively involved in these programs.
So it's not just some generic program tacked onto the team. It's like truly part of their identity.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation for everyone. They generate revenue, support team operations, and compensate their skiers.
Plus, they're building a pipeline of future talent, creating a community around their expertise.
Okay, now get ready for this. During the pandemic, they did something really bold. They opened a physical store called the XCC store.
A physical store. In the middle of a pandemic, that's going against the grain.
Right, but it's a key part of their ecosystem. It specializes in outdoor and ski equipment. And it creates a win-win-win situation for everyone.
How so?
Well, their sponsors get a retail outlet. The team generates revenue. And they get better deals on equipment by working directly with suppliers.
It's like a masterclass in strategic thinking. They're not just waiting for opportunities, they're creating them.
And to really make this work, they brought in Marcus Laggard, a world-renowned waxing expert who used to work with the Norwegian Olympic Committee.
Hold on, they got a waxing expert from the Norwegians. That's a major power move.
Oh yeah, it definitely made some waves in the skiing world. But his expertise has been huge, not just for the team's performance, but for the store's credibility, too.
It's a brilliant move. They're showing that they're committed to excellence at every level.
So we've got this elite team, a successful training program, and a strategic retail operation. But they don't stop there. Lager157 Skiteam is really dedicated to giving back and building the sport from the ground up.
So they're not just focused on the elite level, they're nurturing the grassroots too. That's fantastic. What are they doing specifically? Well, they've got youth and B teams, which is great for aspiring skiers, but they go even further with events like Skiteam, where school children get to try skiing on equal footing, all equipment provided.
That's awesome, breaking down those barriers, making the sport accessible to kids who might not have the chance otherwise.
It's not just about finding the next Olympic champ, it's about fostering a love for skiing.
Exactly. Building a broader base of participation, good for the whole skiing ecosystem.
And it shows their commitment to social responsibility too, using their platform for a positive impact.
Speaking of which, they partnered with the Swedish Childhood Cancer Foundation, raising funds and awareness.
That's fantastic. Leveraging their visibility for a great cause, their ambitions go beyond the slopes.
Now, Anton's been pretty vocal about pushing for a more professionalized skiing scene in Sweden, wants to see more teams adopt a business-oriented approach, even advocating for sponsor visibility during training, which is unusual in skiing.
Interesting. So he's looking at that pro cycling model where sponsors are always visible, not just during races, but year-round.
Exactly. And he's also big on stepping up their social media game. Skiing's been a bit slow to embrace the digital world compared to, say, cycling.
He's right. In today's world, a strong online presence is crucial for building a fan base, attracting sponsors, growing the sport.
Definitely. But this vision of a more professional, business-minded approach has gotten some mixed reactions, especially from those traditional volunteer-run clubs.
Makes sense. It's a big change from how things have always been done. Some might see it as a threat to that amateur spirit.
Right, but Anton argues it's not about replacing those clubs. It's about raising the bar for everyone.
So, creating a more sustainable model for skiers at all levels, whether they're aiming for the top or just passionate about the sport.
Okay, so while some are hesitant about this professionalization, Lager157 Skiteam is all in, especially when it comes to data analysis.
Yeah, they're using video to really break down technique, studying every little detail of their skiers' movements.
And they're tracking lactate profiles, other physiological data to monitor progress and tailor training plans.
So they're not just measuring lactate, they're using that data to fine-tune everything, personalizing workouts, optimizing performance.
Even experimenting with measuring pole force, realizing it's not just about strength, but applying it efficiently.
It's all about the science behind every move, every push, every glide.
But they have mentioned some challenges finding a centralized data system. Skiing, compared to cycling, has a much smaller tech infrastructure.
Good point. Cycling's had years of tech advancements, sophisticated platforms. Skiing hasn't seen that same level of investment.
Exactly, but that also means there's room for innovation. Maybe someone listening to this deep dive has the expertise to create a solution.
Imagine that. A listener inspired to build something new. That's what's so cool about these deep dives, sparking ideas and possibilities.
Now, while we're talking about the Vasaloppet, it's worth noting the unique challenge it presents. It attracts so many participants, many of whom aren't diehard skiers.
Right, they're drawn to the event itself, the history, the challenge.
It's like a cultural phenomenon.
Maybe they train for months leading up to it, but then that's it for the year.
Which begs the question, how do we make the sport itself more appealing year-round?
Yeah, if the Vasaloppet is the only hook, then skiing needs to find ways to stay relevant.
Anton seems to agree. He talks about the need for better track availability, the limits of shorter courses, and the rise of roller skiing and skier machines as training tools.
So bridging that gap between dedicated skiers and those one-time Vasaloppet folks.
Making skiing a bigger part of people's lives.
And making it accessible, too. Not everyone has perfect snowy trails year-round.
That's where those alternative training tools come in. Okay, so we've covered their data-driven approach, their business model, their commitment to the skiing community. But ultimately, it all boils down to performance on the slopes.
Right. It's not just about having the strongest skiers. It's about strategy. And Lager157 Skiteam seems to be all about meticulous planning.
They've got this whole system for testing skis before the Vasaloppet. Multiple teams out there, all night, gathering data, selecting the best skis.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive, treating it like a science project, every variable accounted for.
And during the race, they have a clear plan for teamwork. Remember last year, Emil and Alvar stayed close, others controlled the pace.
Like a perfectly choreographed dance, but on skis.
And it worked. 5 skiers in the top 8.
Incredible. It really shows their teamwork and ability to perform under pressure.
Speaking of performance, Anton has this vision for Swedish sports in general. He believes this model, the athletic ambition combined with business smarts, could be a blueprint for other sports.
He's basically saying they found a formula for success. Why can't other sports do the same?
Exactly. He thinks it can work for both volunteer clubs and commercialized teams. It's about a mindset shift, a more professional approach for long-term growth.
It's a compelling argument, not just about money, but supporting athletes, building partnerships, raising the profile of Swedish sports globally.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think Lager157 Skiteam's model can really be a blueprint? Can they replicate the success, or are there limitations?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's definitely a thought-provoking model with valuable lessons,
Yeah,
but it's not a magic formula that'll work everywhere. Each sport has its own unique, well, everything, its own culture, challenges.
true. And we can't forget the pushback against professionalization. Some worry it'll ruin that amateur spirit of sports.
Right, that concern about business taking over, overshadowing the joy of competition, the community aspect.
It's all about finding the right balance, isn't it? Embrace professionalism, but don't lose the heart of the sport.
Exactly, and Lager157 Skiteam shows it's possible. They've built this amazing business model, but they're still committed to athletic excellence.
Yeah, proof that you can have both professionalism and passion.
And they haven't forgotten their community either. Those youth programs, the partnership with the Cancer Foundation, they're using their platform to give back, to inspire.
It's a really powerful example.
They're challenging the status quo, pushing boundaries, not afraid to try new things, to innovate.
Showing the world that skiing can be more than just a sport. It can be a force for positive change.
So coming back to Anton's vision, could this be a new era for Swedish sports, this blend of athleticism and business?
It's a bold vision. Who knows if it'll fully happen? But one thing's for sure, Lager157 Skiteam has started a conversation.
And that's important, that willingness to question and explore for any sport to thrive these days.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. What if this model, this approach, could be applied to your local sports club, your favorite team?
Imagine that, finding new ways to support the sports we love, to help young athletes, to build a stronger sports culture.
It's a challenge, an invitation to think differently, to aim higher and push those limits. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Lager157 Skiteam.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing those boundaries.